Today we're going to look at finding the volume of rectangular prisms. Remember, volume is the amount of space inside of a figure. So the last couple days we've been working on surface area, which is just the area all around on the surfaces. Now we're looking at the space inside of those three-dimensional figures. And with area, we measure that in square units. So we have that exponent of 2. Now volume's measured in cubic units. So we're going to have our exponent's now going to be a 3. So the formula we're going to use is volume, or V, is the length times the width times the height. So now with area, we're doing the length times the width. Now we're adding a third dimension, which is height. So length times width times height. So let's put this into practice. I'm going to look down here at this first prism, and I'm going to write my formula. Length times width times height. And that is an L. I wrote it in cursive because a lot of times when you write an L in algebra, we write it in cursive, so it doesn't look like a 1. All right, then I'm going to substitute in my numbers. So I have 7/8, 1/2, and 5/8. So 7/8 times 1/2 times 5/8. Remember, with fractions, you just multiply straight across. So you multiply your numerators, and then you multiply your denominators. So if I do that, I have 7 times 1, which is 7, then times 5, so I get 35. And then I did 8 times 8 first to get 64, and then multiplied that by 2 to get 128. That can't be simplified, so you just leave it at that. Even though you're working with fractions, it's still fairly straightforward because you just leave it as a fraction. You don't have to turn it into a decimal or do anything like that. And then no naked numbers here, so I'm going to use meters, and since it's volume, I put meters cubed. So this would be the volume for this prism. 35 over 128 meters cubed. Let's try another one. So length times width times height. This one's a cube. The reason I know that is because just like a square, we know a square is a square when all 4 sides are the same. A cube has all of the side lengths the same as well. So it's just that, like the three-dimensional version of a square. So this one's a cube, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to multiply the length times the width times the height. It just so happens that they're all the same in this case. Now, if it helps, you could put 9/4 times 3/2. You could write that extra step in there if it's hard to keep track of that in your head. But otherwise, I'm just going to think 3 times 3 is 9, and then times 3 again is 27. Okay, and then 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 again, I get 8. So that cannot be simplified, but we can change it to a mixed number. So I am going to do that. 8 goes into 27 3 times, and that's 24, so there would be 3 left over. So 3 3/8, and then no naked numbers, so inches cubed. So my volume is 3 3/8 inches cubed. Be sure to pause and let me know if you have questions as we're working through this. Otherwise, go ahead and pause your video and try the 2 down here at the bottom. Make sure on this first one you do have a mixed number in there, that 1 1/3. So be sure to change that to an improper fraction before you multiply. Once you have worked through both of those, you can unpause your video and then check your work. All right, go ahead and check your work here. So on this first one, 1 1/3, I changed it to 4/3. And then 4 times 1, 3 times 2, I got 4/6. I did simplify that to 2/3. Over here, 3 times 3 times 3, I got 27. 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 again, 64. All right, let's go ahead and flip this over. We're going to work through one word problem together here. So this says 1 cubic foot of dirt weighs about 70 pounds. We want to figure out how many pounds of dirt can this dump truck haul when it is full. So it's kind of difficult to see the way it printed, but here are my dimensions. It's 4 3/4 feet, 8 feet here, and then 17 feet here. So first of all, we need to figure out the volume. So we're going to start with that. I'm going to use my volume formula, and then I'm going to substitute in my numbers. So I have 17 times 8 times 4 and 3/4. Now I'm going to rewrite this, but I'm going to change 4 3/4 to an improper fraction. So I still have 17 times 8, and then 4 times 4 is 16 plus the 3, so I get 19/4. Now, I'm going to make a deal with you guys. As long as you're writing out your work and doing everything you need to, I will allow you to use a calculator just for the sake of time, because I know multiplying out 17 times 8 times 19 by hand is going to take a little bit of time. So if you want to do it, it's okay, but if you want to pull out a calculator, I'm okay with that too. So you would do 17 times 8 times 19, get that product, then divide by 4. When you do that, you're going to get 646. But we're not done. That tells me the volume, 646, that's cubic feet. But up here it says that 1 cubic foot of dirt weighs 70 pounds. So we want to know how much that dump truck can carry. So now I'm going to take that 646 and multiply it by the 70 pounds. So again, you may want to go ahead and type that into your calculator now. You could also just work out 646 times 7 by hand and then just add a 0. Okay, you should have got 45,220. So I would restate my question. I would restate it and write it as a complete sentence here. So I would say the dump truck can haul 45,220 pounds. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the next one. We are going to combine what we did in Chapter 7 with equations to what we just have learned with volume. You do have one question like this on the homework, but what we are doing, we're going to write and solve an equation to find the height of the computer tower. So first things first, we're going to start with the formula. That's going to give us a starting point for our equation. So for volume, length times width times height, and then we can look at this picture here. We can see, well, we know what the volume is, okay, and we've got our length and our width, but we don't know the height. That's what we're trying to find. But we're going to go ahead and substitute in the numbers we do know. So 1,792. And then my length of 16, my width of 7. And then my height. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and multiply 16 and 7. And then rewrite my equation here. When you multiply those, I got 112. And now we're just solving an equation like we did in Chapter 7. So if I want to get that h by itself, that variable. So if I'm multiplying by 112, remember we want to do the opposite and divide by 112, because then that will cancel out and leave the h by itself. So then I'm going to do that on the other side as well. So again, if you want to type in that 1,792 divided by 112 in your calculator, I'm okay with that. I should have got 16 equals h. So that 16 represents the height in inches. So the height of the computer tower is 16 inches. I did not put inches cubed or inches squared because it's just the length there, that height. It's not area and it's not volume. So you're going to go ahead and do this down here at the bottom. So you're going to use that volume formula, substitute in the numbers you know, and then solve to figure out the length on this one and the width on this one. So same process, but go ahead and pause your video and give those two a try. All right, so on this first one, I substituted in my numbers and I ended up with 6 inches. The second one, I substituted in my dimensions here. That 5 1/2, I rewrote it as 11 halves, and then when I multiplied that out, ended up with 12 1/2 centimeters.